When you hunt a pregnant woman, you'd better make sure her husband isn't a hunter himself. They saw a vulnerable woman. They didn't see the lethal protector watching from the shadows. Watch till the end to see how one moment of generosity led to an incredible twist that no one saw coming. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing true stories. Sarah Winters navigates her third trimester with grace, even as exhaustion weighs heavy on her shoulders. The local grocery store, once a mundane stop in her daily routine, becomes the starting point of her nightmare. On a quiet Tuesday evening, while loading groceries into her car, she first notices the weathered blue van circling the parking lot. Something about the way it moves, slow, deliberate, like a shark testing waters, makes her hands tremble as she hurries into her car. The drive home becomes an exercise in composure. Every red light feels endless as she watches the van maintain its distance, always 3 cars behind. Sarah's mind races to her husband Michael, currently wrapped up in his corporate security consulting job, a calm facade that masks his past as an elite military operative. Over the next week, the van appears with unsettling regularity. Outside the yoga studio where Sarah takes prenatal classes, near the doctor's office during her checkups. Michael notices the change in his wife, the way she checks windows twice, how she flinches at unexpected sounds. When she finally tells him about the van, his response is measured, but his eyes betray a cold fury that hasn't surfaced since his military days. Drake and his crew, hardened criminals who've made a living targeting what they believe are vulnerable households, have no idea they're poking a sleeping lion. They see only a pregnant woman and her white-collar husband. Their surveillance reveals a regular schedule, a comfortable home, and what appears to be an easy mark. The breaking point begins on an unseasonably cold morning when Sarah's phone chirps with a notification. At first, she assumes it's another pregnancy app update, but her blood runs cold when she opens the message. It's a photo of herself from yesterday, walking out of her doctor's appointment, one hand protectively cradling her swollen belly. The caption reads, "Beautiful family you're building there." The number is unknown. Within hours, more messages follow, each one more personal than the last. A shot of her watering the front garden, another of her collecting mail, and most disturbingly, a photo of her sleeping through their bedroom window. The escalation sends Sarah into a panic attack, her first since college. Michael finds her in their ensuite bathroom, trying to control her breathing while clutching her phone. When he sees the messages, something shifts in his eyes. The careful veneer of corporate respectability cracks, revealing glimpses of the man he used to be, the one whose name was whispered with respect and fear in classified briefings. Michael's transformation is subtle but profound. His morning routine now includes systematic sweeps of their property. He installs military-grade security cameras, carefully concealed to avoid detection. His laptop begins running sophisticated tracking programs, monitoring local cell tower activity. To the outside world, he maintains his facade of a concerned husband taking basic precautions. But in reality, he's building a comprehensive intelligence network around their home. The breakthrough comes on a Tuesday. While reviewing security footage, Michael notices the same van has passed their house 14 times in 3 days, each time with slightly different license plates. He begins cataloging details. The driver's distinctive neck tattoo visible through the windshield, the passenger's habit of smoking with his left hand, the small dent on the rear quarter panel. Every detail becomes a piece of intelligence feeding into his operational planning. Sarah's anxiety grows with each passing day. The messages become more frequent, more intimate. They reference conversations she's had in her own kitchen, describe what she's wearing in real time, mention specific details about her pregnancy. The stalkers seem to delight in demonstrating their constant surveillance. What they don't realize is that their very persistence is giving Michael everything he needs to understand their patterns, their habits, their weaknesses. During a prenatal appointment, Michael spots the van tailing Sarah's car. Instead of confronting them immediately, he follows at a distance, using old tradecraft to remain undetected. The van leads him to a rundown auto shop on the outskirts of town. Over the next few days, he builds detailed dossiers on each gang member. Drake, the leader, has a history of escalating violence. Rico, his right hand, is on parole for aggravated assault. Carter, the youngest, seems to be the tech expert, swinging the sophisticated harassment campaign. The psychological warfare cuts both ways. Michael begins letting them know they're being watched too. When Drake returns home one night, he finds his own surveillance photos arranged neatly on his kitchen table. Rico discovers his parole officer has anonymously received evidence of his recent activities. Carter's laptop mysteriously crashes, wiping out weeks of their planning. The hunters become the hunted, though they don't fully comprehend the danger yet. Sarah notices the change in her husband. The way he moves through their house has shifted, more fluid, more purposeful. His eyes constantly scan rooms, exits, angles. He speaks less, but says more. The corporate consultant facade falls away at home, revealing the Tier 1 operator underneath. Rather than frightening her, this transformation reassures her. This is the man she fell in love with, the protector whose capacity for controlled violence is matched only by his devotion to those he loves. The situation reaches its crescendo when Sarah discovers a small package on their doorstep. Inside is a custom-made baby onesie with their unborn daughter's ultrasound printed on it, an ultrasound image that was stored only on their private cloud account. Michael recognizes this for what it is, a message that nothing is beyond their reach, no aspect of their lives is private. But it's also a serious tactical error on the gang's part. The package provides physical evidence, DNA, purchase records, a paper trail. Michael spends that night in his home office, surrounded by monitors displaying security feeds, financial records, and surveillance photos. He's piecing together their entire operation, not just against his family, but a pattern of similar harassment campaigns across 3 states. The gang has refined their technique: identify wealthy targets, terrorize the most vulnerable family members, then strike when fear is at its peak. They've never failed because they've never encountered someone capable of turning their own tactics against them. As the first light of dawn breaks, Michael makes a discovery that changes everything. Hidden in the metadata of the threatening photos are GPS coordinates. Carter, their tech expert, has been careless, leaving digital breadcrumbs that reveal their safe houses, meeting spots, and staging areas. More importantly, Michael finds evidence of their next planned attack, his own home, scheduled for when Sarah is supposed to be at her sister's house for a baby shower. The pieces are all in place now. Michael has transformed their home into an invisible fortress, with tactical advantages they can't possibly anticipate. He's mapped their movements, understood their patterns, and identified their weaknesses. Most crucially, he's gathered enough evidence to ensure that when he acts, it will be with full legal justification. Michael watches the gang's van drive past their house for the final time. Sarah is safely at her sister's, though the gang believes she's home alone. They've taken the bait, believing their psychological warfare has created the perfect opportunity to strike. As Michael moves through his darkened house, checking his preparations one last time, there's a cold certainty in his movements. The breaking point has been reached, but not the one the gang intended. They wanted to break his family's spirit. Instead, they've broken the chains holding back the lethal operator lurking beneath the surface of the devoted husband. The confrontation unfolds on a storm-heavy Thursday night when sheets of rain drum against the windows of the Winters home. The weather provides perfect cover for Drake's crew as they approach the house, but it also masks Michael's movements as he observes them from the darkness of his home office. Through the security cameras, Michael watches Drake's team split up, a fatal mistake. Rico takes the back door, Carter circles toward the garage entrance, while Drake approaches the front with the misplaced confidence of a predator who hasn't yet realized he's walked into a trap. The security system Michael installed hasn't just been recording their previous drive-bys, it's been learning their thermal signatures. On his tablet, 3 distinct heat signatures move through the rain. As Rico begins working on the back door's lock, Michael moves silently through his kitchen. His bare feet make no sound on the hardwood floors. He's dressed in simple black clothing, nothing tactical, nothing that would draw attention. The house's layout, so familiar to him, becomes a weapon in itself. Every corner, every hallway, every line of sight has been memorized and accounted for. The first confrontation comes when Rico finally breaches the back door. He steps into the darkened kitchen, his wet boots squeaking slightly on the floor. Michael allows him 3 steps into the house, just far enough to be away from the door but not close enough to the kitchen knives. The takedown is swift and clinical, a precise chokehold applied with professional expertise, and Rico slumps unconsciously to the floor. Michael zip-ties his hands and ankles, then moves on. One down. Carter proves to be more challenging. The tech expert has brought electronic equipment to disable the home's security system, not realizing it's already been manually overridden. When he enters through the garage's side door, Michael is waiting in the shadows beneath the stairs. Carter's night vision goggles, expensive but amateur grade, actually work against him, creating a false sense of security. The brief struggle ends with Carter face down on the garage floor, secured like his companion. Drake, the leader, presents the real threat. Unlike his associates, he moves with the caution of someone who has survived violent encounters before. He's carrying a gun, something Michael anticipated. The house's layout forces Drake to choose between the living room and the hallway. He chooses the living room, stepping carefully around the furniture Sarah had rearranged earlier that week under Michael's guidance. The confrontation between Michael and Drake becomes a deadly game of chess. Drake, realizing something's wrong when his teammates don't respond on the radio, becomes increasingly agitated. He swings his weapon toward every shadow, but Michael has already planned for this. He's positioned mirrors strategically, creating false reflections that draw Drake's attention away from his true location. Michael's voice, when he finally speaks, comes from everywhere and nowhere, thanks to the household speakers he's wired for this purpose. You should have done better research on whose family you chose to threaten. The words cause Drake to spin wildly, firing a shot that embeds itself harmlessly in a sacrificial bookshelf, exactly where Michael calculated it would go. The final takedown is swift, but not lethal. Michael emerges from behind, using Drake's own momentum against him. The gun clatters away across the floor as both men grapple. Drake fights with desperate street-learned savagery, but Michael's movements are economical, precise, born from years of specialized training. Within moments, Drake joins his companions in restraints. With all three subdued, Michael methodically documents everything. He photographs their weapons, their tools, their positions in the house. He downloads the security footage to a secure server. When he finally calls the police, his voice is calm and professional. He reports a home invasion, requesting multiple units due to the number of perpetrators. The police arrive to find 3 thoroughly restrained men and a house that shows surprisingly little damage from the encounter. Michael presents them with a comprehensive file, evidence of the harassment, the threatening messages, the surveillance photos they sent Sarah, everything needed to ensure these men face maximum charges. As the police lead the gang members away, Drake finally realizes the magnitude of their mistake. He sees Michael standing in the doorway, no longer pretending to be just a corporate consultant. The stance, the controlled presence, the way he positions himself in relation to exits and angles, all of it screams of professional training that Drake, in his arrogance, failed to recognize until it was too late. The confrontation ends not with dramatic violence or action movie flair, but with the quiet efficiency of someone who knows exactly how to handle threats to his family. When Sarah returns home the next morning, the only signs of the night's events are some scuff marks on the floor and a single bullet hole in a bookshelf. A bookshelf Michael had installed specifically for this purpose, backed by a steel plate. Michael meets her at the door, once again the loving husband rather than the efficient operator. But Sarah sees something has shifted in their relationship, not fear or concern, but a deeper understanding of the man she married, the protector who will go to any length to keep his family safe. The morning after the confrontation, Sarah returns home to find their house surrounded by police cars, their lights cutting through the lingering rain. Her heart races until she sees Michael calmly speaking with detectives on their front porch, his posture relaxed but alert. The scene feels surreal. Evidence markers dotting their manicured lawn, forensics teams documenting everything. Yet Michael looks as composed as if he were conducting a business meeting. Inside, the house tells its own story. A single bullet hole in the bookshelf, scuff marks on the hardwood floors, and displaced furniture are the only physical remnants of the night's events. As Sarah walks through their home, she notices subtle details she'd missed before. Reinforced door frames, strategically placed mirrors, and cameras so well concealed they blend seamlessly into their decor. Their home had been transformed into a fortress without losing its warmth. The legal proceedings move swiftly. The evidence Michael gathered proves devastating. Weeks of surveillance footage, documented harassment, threatening messages, and now attempted home invasion with weapons. Drake's crew faces multiple felony charges, their prior records ensuring substantial prison sentences. The district attorney is particularly interested in similar cases across state lines, suggesting a pattern that could lead to federal charges. The neighborhood changes in subtle ways. Word spreads about how Michael handled the situation, and suddenly, the quiet consultant becomes someone neighbors seek out for security advice. He helps establish a more robust neighborhood watch program, teaching residents about situational awareness and basic home security. The community grows closer, more vigilant, but not fearful. Sarah's pregnancy continues without further complications, though her perspective has shifted. The prenatal classes and doctor visits now include Michael more often, his protective presence a comfort rather than a reminder of danger. Their discussions about parenthood take on new dimensions, how to balance safety with freedom, protection with independence. The nursery becomes a symbol of their resilience. Michael installs the crib himself, checking every screw and joint with military precision, yet the room remains soft, feminine, filled with stuffed animals and gentle colors. Above the changing table, Sarah notices a small, nearly invisible panic button, a concession to reality that somehow makes her feel more secure rather than afraid. Their marriage grows stronger through the experience. Sarah sees Michael's dual nature with clear eyes, the gentle husband who reads pregnancy books aloud at night, and the lethal protector who can transform their home into an impregnable fortress. Rather than finding this duality disturbing, she draws comfort from it. Their evening routine now includes both birthing exercises and subtle security checks, the two aspects of their lives interweaving naturally. The baby shower, held 3 weeks after the incident, becomes a celebration of more than impending motherhood. Friends and family gather in their home, now subtly fortified but still welcoming. Sarah watches as Michael mingles with guests, noting how he's positioned himself to keep both exits in view. Old habits that now feel like expressions of love rather than paranoia. Community impact ripples outward. Several local news stations request interviews, but Michael and Sarah decline, preferring privacy. Instead, they channel their energy into positive changes. Michael begins offering free security consultations to other expectant parents in the area. Sarah starts a support group for women dealing with harassment and stalking, sharing her story to help others recognize warning signs early. Their daughter arrives 2 months later, on a quiet summer morning. As Sarah holds their newborn, she watches Michael by the hospital room window, his posture alert yet serene. He's already swept the room, already noted every entrance and exit, already planned multiple evacuation routes. But his eyes are soft as he gazes at his family. The nursery becomes the heart of their home, transformed from a potential tactical vulnerability into a symbol of their future. Michael's military precision shows in the perfectly organized diaper station and meticulously arranged baby supplies. Sarah's touches soften the space, family photos, handmade decorations, and a beautiful mobile spinning gently above the crib. 6 months after the incident, their home has evolved. Security cameras remain, but they're accompanied by wind chimes and garden planters. The reinforced doors are painted in welcoming colors. Their house becomes a model for others in the community, proof that safety doesn't require sacrificing warmth and comfort. The final piece of their story comes in an unexpected form. The local police department asks Michael to conduct security workshops for other families, turning their experience into a source of community strength. Sarah often joins these sessions, showing other couples how to balance vigilance with living fully. As their daughter grows, taking her first steps in their previously battleground-turned sanctuary, both Sarah and Michael realize that the aftermath of trauma doesn't have to be defined by fear. Their home, once targeted by those who thought they saw weakness, has become a testament to resilience, protection, and love. Toht, proof that the strongest fortresses are built not just with security systems and tactical planning, but with family bonds that turn ordinary walls into unbreakable shields. Subscribe to the channel and follow along to see how this powerful story unfolds. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from.